All right, you got a new espresso machine, but how on earth do you get good tasting coffee out of it? Relax, don't worry. I'm gonna show you how to dial in like a pro and it will taste like a damn cafe. This is the only video you need. Once you watch it, you'll be set for life. Now, dialing in might seem complicated, but trust me, it's not. We'll get through it today. Once you learn it, it's really easy and you can apply it to any coffee that you have. The one recommendation that I make when people are starting out with coffee is to buy a coffee scale. So you can get these quite cheap on Amazon. Just make sure they measure to 0.1 of a gram, and having a timer is really great also. Today, I'm gonna be using these Time More scales here. I've got a smaller one and a larger. You could use the smaller if you have a single dose grinder with like a dosing cup, because the cup fits on there, pour the beans in. I'm gonna be using this larger scale here today because we're going to be dialing in on the Breville Barista Express because it's such a popular machine. Having a bigger scale like this means that you can just place the entire portafilter on, so when you're not single dosing, you've got a hopper full of beans, you can just grind straight into that and weigh your dose right there. Now, the reason getting a scale is so important is because there are 3 variables we need to worry about when we're making coffee. We need to worry about the grind size, we need to worry about the dose and yield. The dose is the ground coffee you put in, the yield is the espresso you get out, and then you need to worry about the extraction time. And the scale is so important because it allows us to measure the dose the same every single time, which means you only have to worry about one variable changing, which is grind size. So for this machine on a Breville, use 18 grams of coffee. If we know the dose we put in, we only need to worry about changing the grind size. But we'll get into all 3 of those topics in more detail, and you'll be dialing in like a pro. Now, the first thing that we need to worry about is grind size. When you're looking at grind size for espresso, you need to grind quite fine compared to other brewing methods like drip coffee where you grind quite coarse. That's because with espresso, we want to build up as much water pressure as possible. And when you grind finer, it's harder for the water to get through, and it creates that classic espresso coffee that we're used to, that rich, syrupy body. And it also squeezes all the gas out of the coffee and you get that beautiful layer of crema on top. Now, when you grind coarse for espresso, which on this grinder is the higher numbers, so up in the 10s, 11s, 12s, that's going to mean your coffee is in large boulders and water is going to flow through too quickly and you're not going to build up enough pressure. What this leads to is a weak, watery crema on the top, and it leads to a kind of sour and low-bodied coffee, which is no good. So you're going to need to grind finer. Now, when you grind finer, that's the lower numbers on here, you know, your 3, 4, 5s, and that's going to make the grounds really fine and it's going to build up that pressure. But you can go too fine. So when you go too fine, you'll know that you've done this because the coffee will drip and it won't come out and it's going to be really bitter and awful. A quick tip for anyone with this machine, I sometimes get messages of people saying, I'm on grind size 1 and it's still not grinding fine enough. There is a solution. Your machine isn't broken. You just need to take out the top burr, so you just unclick. You can actually change the burr internally to a finer setting. So the default is 6 and I have mine say set on 4. So that's something you can do if you're running into that issue. But just look up how to change the internal burr on a Breville Barista Express. And there are plenty of videos that are doing it. I think I have some on our Instagram and TikTok. So check us out there. Now, to not waste too much coffee when you're dialing in, a great little easy test. Oh, here's one I prepared earlier. A great easy test that you can do is use the finger test. Just grind out a couple beans, a little bit of coffee, and then feel the grounds with your finger. If it feels gritty and like sand, then you're way too coarse. If you go across here to more of an espresso style grind, you can see even it started to clump a little bit. You know it's getting fine when it does that. Pinch it with your fingers, and if it almost starts to stick together, if you can see it kind of mushing together on your finger and it feels super fine, you're in the right area for espresso. So that's a good way to find out where you should start. Now we get to what I say is the most important part of dialing in. This is the dose and yield. As we said before, the dose is the amount of ground coffee you put into the machine, and the yield is how much you get out. Each basket that you use kind of has a grind size recommendation. If you just look up your coffee machine and say, what dose should I use? It'll have a recommendation. So for the Barista Express, I think it's around 16 to 17, and you can normally go a gram either side of that if you want to experiment around. So I like to do an 18 gram dose for the Barista Express. There's also the single shot basket that can be anywhere from kind of like 8 to 12 just look up your machine and see what the recommendation is and go around that with a gram either side. The easiest way to dial in is a brew ratio of 1:2. Now this is used for most coffees in that kind of medium to dark world, which is what most people are drinking. So if you were putting 18 grams of coffee in, you'd want 36 grams of espresso out, 1:2. If this was 16 grams, you'd then want 32. If this was 20 grams, you'd want 40, and so on. Basic?
Say that.
Basic math. I can speak. Basic math. Stop trying to film me when I mess up the words. You're an idiot. Katie, what do you think of brew ratios?
I think that if the brew is ratioed, then there's nothing to hate, Shio.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That should be the name of the video. What was it? If you brew ratio?
Actually,
but just so you know, there can be different brew ratios. So the 1:2 is the most common. If you're using a lighter roast coffee, you might want to change that brew ratio to say 1:2.5 or 1:3. That's because you want more water to go through, because lighter coffees are harder to extract. The more water you push through, the more you extract. So that's why you do that. So example of a 1:3 would obviously be 20 grams here, 60 grams out. So that's how you change that ratio. And then if you had a really dark coffee, you might want to change that ratio to say like a 1:1.5. So the cameraman just asked, would you do that with a dark coffee? So the reason you put less water through a dark coffee is darker roasted coffees, way easier to extract. More solubles are coming out. So less water needs to go through to get a full extraction. So that's why you do a 1:1.5 ratio there. If you're a beginner, 1:2 ratio, easiest way to do it, 1:2. Okay, we're good, we get ratios. Cameraman, you both understand? And if all else fails, if you're confused about it, speak to your roaster. If they're a good roaster, they'll probably have a brew recipe for the coffee you're buying, and they'll be able to tell you the ratio that you should use. Now, the final thing we're gonna worry about is extraction time, which to me is the least important. In the old days, it was like the most important thing, like Starbucks would be like, the perfect shot is between 25 and 27 seconds or something like that. Ideally, for like a medium roast coffee of what we're looking at today, you probably wanna be looking in that 25 to 30 range. But again, taste it and see, run it a bit longer, run it a bit shorter. I would say for some lighter roast, sometimes you might wanna run a little bit longer to help extract it. For darker roast coffees, you might wanna run it a little shorter in that, say like 22 to 24 range, because it's easier to extract. So you can kind of have a play around, but 25 to 30, good starting point. But enough about extraction time, because it's extraction time.
Right.
So let's actually make a coffee and put it all into practice, and you can visually see how to dial in and how it all works. We're gonna use our Golden Brown Signature blend. It's a medium to dark Brazilian. So this kind of would represent a lot of coffees that you're out there buying. We'll put it into the hopper. Okay, the first thing that we're gonna worry about when making the coffee is weighing the coffee. So we're doing it with the portafilter and we're gonna grind into it. So we need to place it on the scale and tear that off so that we can weigh our beans. If you're using a single doser, this would be the part where you put it on your scale, fill it up with beans to 18 grams. Okay, let's grind some coffee in here. Okay, let's give that away. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that out. And remember, having the exact same weight of coffee is gonna take away that variable of dose amount. It's always gonna be 18. Then we just need to adjust the grinder either coarser or finer, and that's the only variable we need to worry about. Now with tamping, the main key is always level and flat, and you wanna do it firmly. You wanna push down until you can't feel the coffee compressing anymore. You wanna feel it kind of push back almost. I would definitely go for too hard over too soft. That's what she said. Then pop it in there. I'm gonna use a smaller scale just because the bigger one fits under, but we'll use a small one so we have two separate scales going. I'm coming around to the other side, people. Okay, so we have our scale on. Now for the Barista Express, I recommend starting at around 5 to 10 grind size. We'll start on 10 to see where we go from there. Now when we're pulling our shot, we put in 18 grams, so we wanna get 36 grams out. Now when you're measuring your extraction, don't stop it based on time, stop it based on the yield. Once you hit 36, stop the extraction. The reason for this is it'll give you an idea of how far out you are in grind size. So let's say it rushes out in 15 to 20 seconds, you know you're way too coarse and need to adjust a lot finer. If it takes 45 seconds to extract, then you need to go a lot coarser. So that's why we always adjust based on the yield, not on the time. So we'll press start and get the timer going. Okay, we can see that we're coming out too quickly here. It's ramping up really quickly and stop. So that gives us an idea of how to adjust. Always taste. Kind of nice at the start, but then it goes quite sour. It's not syrupy enough, not enough body. So they're all signs we need to grind finer. Now, from that coffee extracting in about 19 seconds, I know that I probably need to go 5 to 6 grind sizes coarser. I'm gonna throw that out the window and I'm gonna go up to like 2 or 1, just to go fine so we can see what too fine is gonna look like. Also, quick little tip, there will be old coffee grounds still inside the chute. So sometimes it's nice if you really care about dialing in, just grind up a little bit and then toss that out. Grind here again, super fine. Watch this shot just come out perfectly. Also, one thing to note, every time you change your grind size, a different amount of coffee will come out. I just ground before and it was 18.5. When I made it way finer, I only got 15.5. That's why it's so important to weigh on the scale and not just use the grind amount on the machine. 17.9. I'm happy with anything within a 0.2 variance. 18.2, 17.9, you know, that's fine. Now, do we have a look at that? You can see we're getting super fine because all the coffee is clumping together. It's getting that kind of stickiness. So again, 18 in, 36 out. Let's see how long this will take us. We'll know it's too tight if it starts dripping at the start. I mean, there you go, it's not even coming out. So that's the sign that it's too tight when water can't even pass through the coffee bed. So at 21 seconds, we got first drop. So way too tight, dripping, no good. Always taste it. This is gonna take like 20 minutes to get our 36 grams out. So the machine conked out and just gave me 21 grams, so way too tight. That took 50 seconds. It's actually not as bad as you think it would be. A little bit of burnt tire on the back there. There it is. Okay, let's go back to my original suggestion after we were too coarse, which was starting at around grind size 5. So let's go to there and see how we go. All right, so what do we got here? 18 grams, grind size 5. So again, we're looking for that 36 grams in like 25 to 30 seconds, maybe 32. And action. Yep, we've got first drop. We've got some nice thin streams, looks quite rich, syrupy. If anything, maybe a little bit too fast, but not bad. So I was a little slow on the slop. That was about 26 seconds. And so we're in the ballpark. The shot looked way better. Again, I think I could go one step finer with this, maybe push the extraction out to 32 seconds. There we go. So much sweetness coming through there compared to the last one we had, but really rich body, syrupy feel. That's a delicious espresso. Yum. Look at that, dialed in 3 shots. And I even did a fake bad one on purpose. So using the brew ratios here, you can see you can dial in way quicker than if you were just going blindly and going by grind amount and grind size on the machine. But these are just parameters. Always adjust to your taste and what you like. If you find that your coffee is too watery or sour, you might just want to grind a little bit finer. If you're finding that your coffee is too bitter and you want to bring more sweetness in, then grind a little bit coarser because all coffees are going to be different. So adjust to your taste when it comes to that. These are just a great starting point. So that is the basics of dialing in. I hope it's easy to understand because once you have that foundation, you can apply it for the rest of your life when making espresso. You just change your brew ratios based on what the roaster says, what you want to experiment with. And once you have this down pat, it's all smooth sailing. You're set. Who needs to go to a cafe? I mean, I love going to a cafe. It's lovely. Sit with a friend, have a chat. But if you've got a new machine, if you want to learn more about it, let me know what you want to see. We've just done a milk steaming tutorial. We're going to be doing cleaning in the future. Let me know what else you want to see. But for now, that's kind of it. Honk that subscribe button because it looks like our bell. And that's our mascot. We must kind of suck if our mascot's just a bell, but whatever. Dialing up. Cameraman, we've got the videos coming. I need to stand here looking busy while the videos play here for people to click. So quiet.